The wind howled through the skeletal remains of Willow Creek, a town forgotten by time. Vera, a weathered postal worker in her late 40s, pedaled her rusty bicycle down the cracked asphalt of Old Mill Road. The faded yellow envelope in her satchel bore no return address, only a name: Esmira Valthorn, 17 Hollow Lane. The address was infamous in the post office, a cursed relic, they called it. No one had lived there since the fire of '99. Yet every few years, a letter arrived for that house. Vera, nearing retirement, had drawn the short straw. The air grew colder as she approached the edge of town. Hollow Lane was now a dirt path, overgrown with weeds that clawed at her tires. The house loomed ahead, its charred timbers jutting like broken bones against the gray sky. Blackened windows stared back. Vera's breath hitched. She'd heard the stories, whispers of a figure in the windows, footsteps in empty halls. "Just a job, Vera. Drop it and go," she muttered. She dismounted, boots crunching on gravel. The rusted mailbox creaked as she forced it open. The envelope felt heavier, almost pulsing. As she slid it inside, a faint scratching came from the house, slow, deliberate, like nails on wood. Vera froze. The sound stopped, but the silence was worse, pressing against her ears. A shadow flickered in the upstairs window, too brief to be sure. Her heart pounded. She stepped back, ready to leave, when the mailbox lid snapped shut with a clang. The envelope was now wedged upright, as if placed with care. Vera reached to check it, but her fingers hesitated. The air felt charged, like before a storm. A low hum began from the house, a voice, or something mimicking one, murmuring words she couldn't catch. Vera backed away, her bike wobbling as she mounted it. The hum grew louder, weaving through the wind. She pedaled hard, the house shrinking behind her, but the feeling clung, a sense that something had noticed her, and it wasn't done. Vera's hands trembled as she gripped the handlebars, her bike rattling over the uneven path. The hum followed her, faint but persistent, like a melody stuck in her head. She glanced back. The house was a dark smudge against the horizon. Yet the air felt heavier, as if it carried an unseen weight. Her satchel bounced against her hip, lighter without the envelope. But the absence felt wrong, like she'd left something vital behind. Back at the post office, a crumbling brick building on the edge of Willow Creek, Vera locked her bike and hurried inside. The fluorescent lights buzzed, casting a sickly glow over the cluttered counter. Her coworker, Tormin, a wiry man with nervous eyes, was sorting mail. "You're back quick," he said, glancing up. "Dropped it at Hollow Lane?" Vera nodded, her throat tight. She didn't mention the hum, the shadow, or the mailbox slamming shut. Tormin wouldn't believe her. He'd laugh, call it old age creeping in. Instead, she busied herself with sorting letters, her fingers brushing against the familiar texture of envelopes. But her mind was elsewhere, replaying the scratching sound, the flicker in the window. That night, Vera couldn't sleep. Her small apartment above the post office creaked with every gust of wind. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the hum echoing in her ears. It wasn't just a memory. It was there, faint, seeping through the walls. She sat up, heart racing. The room was dark, but the shadows seemed to shift, curling at the edges of her vision. She flicked on the lamp. Nothing. Just her coat on the chair, her boots by the door. Then she saw it, on the kitchen table, under a stack of unopened bills. A faded yellow envelope, identical to the one she'd delivered. Her breath caught. She approached, hands shaking. The name stared back. Esmira Valthorn, 17 Hollow Lane. No return address. Vera's stomach twisted. She hadn't brought it back. She'd left it in the mailbox. Hadn't she? The hum grew louder, now a whisper, forming a single word. Stay. Vera stared at the envelope, her pulse hammering. The whisper, whispering, "Stay," lingered in the air, cold and sharp like a blade. She backed away, knocking over a chair. The crash echoed in the silent apartment, but the hum didn't falter. It was inside her now, burrowing into her thoughts. She grabbed the envelope, intending to tear it open, but it burned her fingers, not hot, but icy, like touching frost-bitten skin. She dropped it. The clock read 2:17 a.m. Vera's hands shook as she filled a glass with water, spilling half of it. She needed to think. Maybe she'd brought the envelope back by mistake. Maybe she was overtired. But the hum grew insistent, forming words. "You can't leave." Her glass slipped, shattering on the floor. The shards glittered under the lamp, reflecting something that wasn't there. A flicker of movement, like a figure passing behind her. She spun around. Nothing. The apartment was empty, but the air felt crowded, as if unseen eyes watched her. Vera grabbed her coat and keys, desperate to escape. She stumbled down the stairs, the hum chasing her, now a chorus of whispers. Outside, the night was unnaturally still. Willow Creek's streets were dark, the streetlights long broken. Her bike was where she'd left it, but the tires were slashed, rubber sagging like deflated lungs. Vera's breath clouded in the cold. She started walking, her boots echoing on the pavement. The envelope was still in her hand. She didn't remember picking it up. Its weight dragged at her arm, heavier than before. The hum followed, weaving through the empty town, guiding her back toward Hollow Lane. She fought the urge to turn, but her feet moved as if pulled by an invisible thread. The house came into view, its silhouette sharper now, as if it had been waiting. The mailbox was open, empty. A faint light pulsed from the upstairs window, rhythmic like a heartbeat. Vera's legs trembled, but she couldn't stop. The whispers grew clearer. "Bring it." Vera's feet crunched on the gravel of Hollow Lane, each step heavier than the last. The envelope burned in her hand, its icy chill seeping into her bones. The house stood before her, its blackened frame swallowing the faint moonlight. The whispers were louder now, a chorus of voices overlapping, urging her forward. "Bring it back," they hissed, their tone both pleading and commanding. She wanted to drop the envelope and run, but her fingers wouldn't let go. The front door of the house was ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning. Vera's breath came in shallow gasps. She hadn't planned to go inside. No one would. But the hum pulsed in her chest, syncing with her heartbeat, pulling her closer. She stepped onto the porch, the wood groaning under her weight. The air smelled of ash and something sweeter, like rotting flowers. A faint scratching echoed from inside, the same sound she'd heard before, now closer, more urgent. She pushed the door open. The hinges screamed, revealing a hallway cloaked in shadows. Dust hung in the air, glittering in the faint light from the upstairs window. The envelope trembled in her hand, as if alive. Vera's eyes darted to the staircase, its steps warped and blackened. Something moved at the top, a shape too vague to define, slipping out of sight. The whispers grew frantic. Urgent! Upstairs! Now! Vera's legs moved against her will, climbing the stairs. Each step creaked, the sound swallowed by the hum. The air grew thicker, pressing against her skin. At the landing, a hallway stretched into darkness, lined with closed doors. One door, at the far end, was slightly open, leaking a pale, pulsing light. The envelope felt like a lead weight now, dragging her toward that door. She wanted to scream, to turn back, but the whispers held her, their words unintelligible, yet undeniable. She reached the door, her hand shaking as she touched the knob. The hum stopped abruptly, leaving a silence so deep it hurt. Then, from behind the door, a single, clear whisper. "You're here." The door creaked open, revealing a room bathed in faint bluish light. Vera's breath caught. The air was thick, smelling of damp wood and something metallic, like old blood. The envelope in her hand pulsed, its icy burn now a dull ache. The room was bare, except for a cracked mirror on the far wall, its surface clouded but reflecting the pulsing light. No furniture, no life, just the hum, now silent, replaced by a pressure in her chest. She stepped inside, her boots stirring dust that swirled like smoke. The whispers returned, softer, weaving through the room. "Look closer." Vera's eyes fixed on the mirror. Her reflection was wrong. Her outline blurred, as if something stood behind her, blending into her shape. She spun around, heart pounding, but the room was empty. The envelope trembled, urging her forward. She approached the mirror, her reflection growing stranger, her edges dissolving into shadow. A sound broke the silence, a soft thud, like a heartbeat, coming from the floorboards. Vera knelt, her fingers brushing the wood. It was warm, pulsing faintly, as if the house itself were alive. She pried at a loose board, revealing a small hidden compartment. Inside was a bundle of letters, all yellowed, all addressed to Esmira Valthorn. Her hands shook as she lifted them. The whispers grew urgent. "Read." She opened the top letter. The paper was brittle, the ink faded but legible. "You shouldn't have come," it read, in a jagged script. The words seemed to writhe on the page. Vera's vision blurred, the room tilting. The hum returned, louder, filling her skull. The mirror flickered, showing not her reflection but a dark shape, featureless, looming closer. The whispers screamed, "She sees you." Vera dropped the letter, scrambling back. The floorboards groaned, the light pulsed faster, and the air grew heavy, pressing her down. She clutched the envelope, its weight unbearable. The door slammed shut behind her, the lock clicking with finality.
Vera clawed at the door, her nails scraping the blackened wood. The lock wouldn't budge. The room pulsed with the bluish light, each flash tightening the air around her. The envelope lay on the floor, its edges curling as if scorched. The whispers were everywhere now, a cacophony of voices, some pleading, some mocking.
"You read it. You're hers." Vera's chest heaved, her breaths shallow and ragged. She stumbled to the mirror, avoiding its gaze. The letters were scattered across the floor, their words bleeding into the wood. "You shouldn't have come." The hum returned, a low growl vibrating through the walls. The floorboards shuddered, dust raining from the ceiling. Vera's eyes darted to the letters. She grabbed another, tearing it open. "She never leaves," it read, the ink smearing under her fingers as if written in blood. The mirror flickered again, the dark shape within growing clearer, a silhouette with no face, only a void where features should be. Vera's reflection was gone, swallowed by the shadow. The whispers chanted, "Look at her." Against her will, her eyes lifted. The shape in the mirror moved, its edges rippling like smoke. It wasn't just a shadow, it was reaching out, its form stretching toward her through the glass. Vera screamed, backing into the wall. The room shook, the light pulsing faster, syncing with her heartbeat. The letters on the floor began to burn, not with flame, but with a cold blue glow. The air grew suffocating, thick with the smell of ash and decay. The whispers merged into a single voice, cold and clear. "Esmira wants you." The door rattled behind her as if something heavy pressed against it. Vera's hands shook as she clutched the last letter. She didn't want to read it, but her fingers moved, tearing it open. "Stay forever," it read. The mirror cracked, a jagged line splitting the glass. The shape lunged forward, its void-like form spilling into the room. Vera fell to her knees, the letter slipping from her fingers. The room spun, the blue light pulsing in time with her racing heart. The shape from the mirror was no longer confined. It loomed over her, a mass of shadow with no edges, no face, only a void that seemed to pull at her soul. The whispers were deafening now, a storm of voices screaming.
"Stay with Esmira!"
Vera's vision blurred, her body heavy, as if the air itself pinned her down. The floorboards cracked beneath her, splitting open like a wound. Cold air rushed up, carrying the stench of decay. Vera scrambled back, her hands scraping against the splintered wood. The envelope lay nearby, glowing faintly, its edges blackened. She reached for it, driven by some instinct, but the shadow surged forward, enveloping her hand. It wasn't cold or warm, it was nothing, a void that numbed her skin. She yanked her hand back, gasping. The whispers softened, coaxing now.
"Give it to her."
Vera's eyes darted to the cracked mirror. The shape was gone, but the glass showed a new scene. A woman in a tattered dress, her back to Vera, standing in a field of ash. The woman turned slightly, her face hidden, but her presence felt ancient, heavy with grief. The hum returned, vibrating through the floor, urging Vera to move. She grabbed the envelope and stood, her legs trembling. The door was still locked, but a cold draft came from the floor's crack. Against all reason, Vera knelt again, peering into the darkness below. A faint light flickered deep within, pulsing like the one in the window. The whispers chanted.
"Down."
Her heart screamed to run, but the envelope burned in her hand, its weight pulling her toward the abyss. Vera pried the floorboards wider, revealing a narrow, crumbling staircase descending into darkness. The air was thick with the smell of earth and rot. She clutched the envelope, her only anchor, and took a step down. The shadow followed, its presence a cold weight on her back. The staircase spiraled into darkness, each step creaking under Vera's weight. The envelope's glow lit her path, casting jagged shadows on the damp stone walls. The air was suffocating, thick with the stench of earth and something sour, like spoiled milk. The whispers were faint now, a distant hum guiding her deeper. Her heart pounded, but her feet moved, driven by the envelope's weight, as if it had a will of its own. At the bottom, a cavernous room opened, its ceiling lost in shadow. The pulsing light came from a crude altar at the center, piled with yellowed letters, all addressed to Esmira Valthorn. The glow wasn't from a lamp, but from the letters themselves, their edges smoldering with blue fire. Vera's breath hitched. The shadow was here, a formless mass coiling around the altar, its presence pressing against her mind. The whispers returned. A single voice now. Place it. Vera's hands shook as she stepped forward, the envelope burning her skin. She set it on the altar, and the blue fire flared, illuminating a figure at the edge of the room. A woman in a tattered dress, her back to Vera, her hair matted with ash. The figure didn't move, but the air grew colder, the hum louder, vibrating through Vera's bones. The figure turned slightly, her face still hidden. "You brought it," she said, her voice a dry rasp, like leaves on stone. Vera stumbled back, her voice trapped in her throat. The shadow surged, wrapping around her, pulling her toward the altar. The letters burned brighter, their words visible. "Stay forever." Vera's vision darkened, her body heavy, as if sinking into the earth. She woke on the floor of the post office, the envelope gone. Tormund stood over her, his face pale. "You were screaming," he said. Vera's hands were empty, but her skin felt marked, as if the shadow still clung to her. Outside, Hollow Lane was silent, but she knew Esmira was waiting for the next letter, the next soul.